Hello, welcome to our video review of Windlands 2. This is a game which is currently available on PC VR. It was originally released on Oculus on the 12th of September 2018, a short-timed exclusive, and then it was then released on Steam and available to all of the headsets on the 15th of November 2018. It's $29.99 or £24.99 and made by SciTech Games. Roots, what sort of game is it? How would you describe this game?
It's like a platformer game. It's got something going that I don't think many other games in VR have, aside from like To the Top or whatever, where you're literally flying around and jumping from and swinging and like those moments when you swing up and you fly way up there and you're looking down, coming down, you do get that pit in your stomach feeling. It's something that I was not expecting to be as cool as I thought it was. But yeah, so
Yeah, I think the main thing with this game that it has over any other than the first Windlands is the movement. So, Wes, how do you move around in this game?
You've got grappling hooks attached to both of your arms, and they're elastic. So you kind of shoot out, and you can grab on to the treetops, and you just kind of swing through. And if you time it as you get more used to the movement, you can kind of pull and throw yourself through the environments. It does take some practice to get used to, but after you get the hang of it, it's an experience that is unique to this game and is a load of fun.
Yeah, this is not for people who are new to VR. I'd say you need to have a little bit of time in VR because you will get sick if you're new to VR. I did say that this is the only game with this mechanic. There is Jet Island as well, which is kind of similar. The difference with this one though is that you've got these hooks for hands. Basically, you fire them out. You can fire them into anything that's green, any sort of bush or anything like that. And then as soon as you fire it in, it automatically starts pulling you in. And then this helps you build momentum. It's I'd say it's very arcadey compared to Jet Island, but it's just really fun. It starts you off quite easy, so you can kind of just go pretty much anywhere. There's loads of these green bushes everywhere, and you can just jump off and fly around. But then as the game progresses, it gets more hard. There's levels where you've literally barely got any to grab onto, and you've really got to try and plan your route and try and figure out how to get up through the environment. It's definitely a platformer, I would say, but there's also combat mechanics. So, Roots, what sort of combat does this game have?
Oh, it's got that. It's like a bow and arrow that which is kind of cool because you use the inside trigger to pull it out, and so you can still be swinging around and using your bow and arrow. I thought it was very intuitive the way they did it, and it actually added something the first one didn't have, which was like actual bosses and things to attack. Which we all played through quite a bit of this game together, all four of us, and then Alex and I finished the end not too long ago. It's one of my favorite co-op games I've ever played. I mean, obviously it's you guys as well, but just the mechanics of it just feels good. And I mean,
Yeah,
there's not much story to it, but the story that is there is pretty good as well.
it's worth mentioning that actually that it's got up to four-player co-op, so you can play through the entire story four-player. It's also got competitive mode, so you can have races, and there's another mode where you can kind of you've got certain crystals around or some sort of thing you have to collect, and then it's the first person to collect them all and get to a like a checkpoint at the end. So there's more to it than just the main story. There is a story. I think it took me about 5-6 hours to complete. Um, and there's boss fights and the thing what Roots was talking about with the controls is you've got your hooks for hands, so you use a trigger to fire them out, and then if you pull the grip buttons, which are obviously on the inside, you can then pull your bow. So you can pull the bow using any hand, left or right. So what you can do is sometimes you can hang. So you can hang from a bush, holding your trigger up, but then at the same time you can be pulling your bow out. And it's really cool mechanic. Really works really well. Feels very intuitive. You can be flying through the air. firing off arrows. And you do actually need to do that because there's boss fights throughout the game, which have got really big scale. The sense of scale in this game is great, where you have these plates, you've got these like energy shields. So to defeat the enemy, you have to hit all the any of these energy shields off of the boss. Now, it is four-player co-op, so the devs have been very clever in the way that they've integrated it. So the more people that are in the game, they add more of these points so that you have to hit them more times. So the difficulty does scale with the amount of people that are in there as well, which is very good. Wes, how did you find the boss fights in these? Because they're quite tough. We play them as 4 players, so it was probably easy, but I'd imagine they're probably quite tough when you're playing on a single player on this.
Yeah, they were pretty epic, especially as you get on in the game. The later bosses are really tough, even with help. The good thing about it is when you die, and you will die a lot fighting these bosses, it doesn't have any consequence. The bosses hold their damage, so you could die 50 times, and you don't lose your spot in the battle. The boss keeps the damage that you've done to him already. But yeah, tons of fun. Basically, most of the boss fights are set up in a little kind of an arena environment. Even if it isn't a physical arena, there's generally a central point where the boss is moving around, and then there's all kinds of points where you can swing from that surround the area where the boss is at. And basically, you just end up hanging from some point and firing off as many arrows as you can before the boss kills you, and then you spawn just outside of the boss area and make your way back in, lather, rinse, and repeat. But loads of fun. Some of them rather long. Takes a while to get through it, especially with help because, like you said, the damage that you need scales up with the amount of players there is. So some of these bosses, it takes quite some time to defeat and a load of fun.
Mm. Yeah. Graphically, this game is quite a big, basic art style. It's kind of like a bit like a cell shaded look to it, but it works well in VR. One thing, I mean, Roots, I don't know if you found this, but because obviously you can see for miles out. I mean, you can be stood on looking out. It looks, even with the current headsets we've got now, it still looks pretty good. I felt. I don't know if it was just the color palette that they were using. What did you think to the visuals of this game?
It's beautiful. Everything pops, and then like you said, just the being able to see all the distance. I think this game is actually I don't think the graphics detract at all. As far as being a little bit more basic for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Do you agree, Wes?
Actually, I think that my only complaints with this game would probably be graphically. I would have liked to had a little bit more texture than what's in there. It's very, very basic from a texture perspective. Granted, the colors are great, beautiful, high contrast scenes, and it works for what it is. But I wasn't impressed when I got into it. I was like, really, this is it. That said, it doesn't detract from how fun the game is. There is a good sense of 3D depth to it, especially when you're entering into a new area. Like you said, you can see for a long way, and it does look good from a distance. But as far as textures go, this looks very much like an Oculus Quest game, even though it came out a year before Oculus Quest got here. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from a texture perspective.
Yeah, it's definitely the look that they went for. I mean, it's the same as. I mean, it is a step up over the first game, but yeah, it's baked in lighting, cell shaded kind of cartoony look, and I'd be surprised if we don't see this and the first one come over to the Quest. We've still not seen it on the PSVR neither yet, which I'm sure that they're going to release it because the first one was on the PSVR. But obviously they're probably just trying to get it through cert and get it all prepped, and you know how it's like with Sony. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the audio in this game. Obviously, there's some cool music. It's got like I don't know. Would you say it's like a Zelda sort of feel to this game, maybe a little bit in just the music, the audio, a little bit? I don't know. Maybe I'm getting that vibe.
Well,
Wes?
kind of.
Yeah, I guess kind of. It's definitely got an adventure, an
Yeah, that's.
adventurous feel to it.
I think that's what I meant. Like it's got that adventure. You feel like you are going on an adventure,
Mhm.
and it's got like a questy sort of roots. What were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's does sound kind of like a fantasy music type, but the voice acting is, yeah, I mean, it's okay, but it's a little cheesy, you know. I mean, just kind of like the whole story is a little cheesy, but it just it's the gameplay that feels so good. I was even thinking, you know, that's a little bit off and then you can go back to the audio for Wes, but I was thinking just how much becomes like trying to figure out where to go. Like there's so many different ways you can go, and you can actually get lost, and you can get yourself
Mm.
stuck in areas that can get difficult to get out of if you're not careful. And there's a lot of times, even when you're playing with other people, you're like, where the fuck did he go? And
Yeah.
you're trying to see, and then you're waiting on him, and it's definitely can get very tricky and strategic on how to get to certain areas, especially near the end.
Yeah, we were because we played the four of us, obviously including Justin, and there were times when you guys were off in the distance, and there's because all you get is kind of like a check mark of where you need to go, and it'll tell you like a distance, how many meters away. Um, and yeah, sometimes you do come up to a crossroads and you're not sure which way you need to go. The other thing that I'd say, which is probably a bit of a negative, is there is a lot of backtracking. Like you'll go
Hmm.
all the way over to somewhere, and then it's like, okay, you've been there. Now you've got to go back all the way back to the way you just came from. Oh, now you've got to all the way back over there, and you kind of end up going backwards and forwards. And it takes a while. It's a negative, but at the same time, because the controls, because the movement is so good, you don't really mind. I mean, you just enjoy just swinging around and just moving around the game.
Hmm.
And I think that's what sells the game. The game is all about the gameplay. The story is kind of okay. There's these titans that are terrorizing people, and you've been sent to kill them. But ultimately, what it comes down to with this game is it's the gameplay. It's all about the gameplay, the way you play it. The co-op made a big difference to me as well, playing with you guys. So let's wrap this up. Let's give a little bit of a summary. 29.99. What would you recommend this Roots at that price? Do you think it's worth it?
I think it was worth it for me. I enjoyed it enough to feel like I got my money's worth. I could say probably would prefer to pick it up for 19.99. But I mean that's every game. But I felt like I got my money's worth for sure.
Yeah, I think if you've got someone you could play this with, that makes a difference. Playing this in co-op makes the game better, in my opinion. And so if you've got a friend that you want to play this with, I'd say it's a definite buy for me. It's still fun single player, but um, it's not as much. It's not as fun, and that can make a difference.
Mhm.
But I definitely recommend it. I mean, I loved the first one, and I found I didn't love this as much just because it was a bit too easy, a bit too open with the movement. But I still had a lot of fun with it. I still enjoyed it. The game feels really polished. It's very simplistic art style, but it still looks good. I'd say just from the visuals, from I think it's the sense of scale, the movement and the sense of scale, and what makes this game. Wes, what are your final thoughts? What do you think to this? Do you recommend it?
Yeah, I recommend it. I would rather catch it for $25 rather than 30. But like you said, if you have people you can play with, this game is a load of fun, and it really helps to have people to play with, especially early on in the game, because learning the controls can be a bit of a process, and it can seem frustrating at times. But if you can get over that hump and get to the point where you're actually pretty good at it, it's a very rewarding experience, and having someone in there with you at first helps you to have the patience that you need to get good at moving through the game. Overall, I'm not going to begrudge somebody for paying $30 for it. I definitely think you should own this game, but I'm not going to begrudge you either if you decide that you'd like to wait and maybe get $5 or $10 off of it. But all in all, a really fun game, and yeah, I do recommend it.
Yeah, it's a definite recommend from all of us. I think it's just price dependent, and that's going to be down to the specific person. But I'd say, yeah, I'd say it's a recommendation. If nothing else, just wait for a little bit of a sale, maybe $5 off or something, and pick it up. But like Wes said, you need a bit of patience with this. If you've not played the first one and you're not used to the locomotion, you may get sick. So if you're new to VR, hold off maybe until you've got your VR legs a little bit more. And just bear with it, because once you get the hang of this thing, the way you can flick yourself up and you like pull yourself up and you can do a little flick, and yeah, great game.
It feels so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's effectively Spider-Man in VR, isn't it? Let's face it. But yeah, so I think that wraps this review up. These are more open discussion reviews. If you like this sort of format, then make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to see more. We do try and get a good, probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 reviews a week. Just going through older games, and hopefully you will to pick up some recommendations. And that's it from us, and hopefully check out the next video.
And join our Discord. We just put up a link in the on the video, and we are trying to build a community, so let's do it.
Yeah, check links in the description. But yeah, we're all about the games, all about the gameplay, and we want to build a community of like-minded gamers who want to try and get recommended games to people, new, old, whatever. So
cool.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Bye.